missing an eye.
Hey guys, Luke here, and today I wanted to do a quick vid on the current event quests, including Fender Collab quests and the new mining pick longsword and sword and shield weapons. Now we're going to start with the easiest first and work our way up. So first up is Nerscylla, or the quest Peak Nerscylla. This quest and where you'd least expect against a Zulu, you'll give cooking ingredients, so fluffy eggs for Nerscylla and sealed garlic for Zulu. Both of these quests will reset on Tuesday, September 2nd, so if you want to farm them you only have 2 days left. Now with Peak Nerscylla, this is a very standard Nerscylla in the Ice Shard Cliffs. From that perspective, if you're in endgame, this is going to be a very quick and easy quest for you. I've got timestamps below if you're not interested in the gameplay, but I wanted to keep this in here for anyone who maybe hasn't gone to endgame yet or hasn't actually done too many Nerscylla fights. For this one I'm using the hunting horn. I am a hunting horn main, it's my favourite weapon by a mile, mainly for the thematic aspect of it. I think it's just awesome that you've got a massive instrument, which you can use to then basically bonk on the monster while also playing your songs. Also let me know what you think of the fashion. I'm going to do the video about the fashion at some point. This is the main one I'm using specifically for the hunting horn, just because the glass royal is an absolutely awesome looking weapon, kind of like a flower horn so to speak. But I don't want to spoil too much about this video. I like keeping the gameplay videos in and trying to talk over at the same time, because I'm not sure how you guys do it, but I like to play and have something on in the background, and normally something that's relevant to what I'm playing. So for that reason, we're just going to go and walk through this fight a little bit. Let me know your thoughts actually on Nerscylla. I personally am a little bit arachnophobic, so from that perspective, Lalabarina and Nerscylla, not my favourite monsters, but at the same time, I actually think that Lalabarina is a little bit easier to digest, so to speak. This one definitely, especially like that, going across on its web is just freaky. So let me know your thoughts. Also, if anyone's a StarCraft fan, let me know if you think that this also looks a little bit like the Queens from the Zerg side. Did do a couple of years as a StarCraft player, nothing professional, anything of that nature, but just really enjoyed the strategy aspect as well as the 3 different races. Obviously again, like I said, this hunt is going to be very, very quick, so I think it's probably going to be about 3-4 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that. This is not me playing at my best, so to speak. I'm not a speedrunner. I've got about 2,000 hours in Monster Hunter World. That was my first proper Monster Hunter game. I didn't really play much of Rise, as it was a little bit too arcadey for me, but again, each their own. So for me personally, my main experience has been in Monster Hunter World. For that reason, also later on, when we also look at things like the Gaiacrus and Seregius, these are monsters that I still struggle with, because they're completely new for me, and especially the 8 and 9 star tempered versions are a little bit scary. Unfortunately, didn't manage to get the the kill before it managed to run away, so it ended up taking a little bit longer this hunt. But one thing to note as well, for this specific quest, again, I've got the timestamps below so you can see what the rewards are themselves. But mainly what you're going to be getting here is fluffy eggs. I also got some monster chili and some wild seed oil. So I think if you're looking for ingredients generally, this quest as well as the where you'd least expect with Zulu are both going to be actually really good for that sort of thing. Especially if you're not really doing the item trade or materials trade part with Nata the whole time. And there we go. So Nerscylla's down. I'm going to spend a couple of seconds just quickly doing some looting, but we'll probably extend that to the rewards. Also, one thing to note, I don't know if it's just because it's Wilds, but in Worlds I used to spend a ton of time just grabbing resources before and after fights. Maybe it's just that because we're in the current endgame, you end up just not farming as much or grabbing as much as you can on the hunt because you want to get that done as quickly as possible. But I definitely always recommend, if you see bone piles, if you see mining ore places, always try and grab them whenever you can, because they do rack up, and at some point, especially like me, if you want to make all of the armors and weapons that are in the game, you're definitely going to need everything. So as briefly mentioned, there's the fluffy eggs. For me, the monster chili, and obviously some armor spheres, some decorations, and then the wild seed oil. So next we've obviously got the where you'd least expect. This is for a Zulu. Again, nothing too crazy. For this one, I'm actually going to be using a longsword. It's in the Ruins of Wyveria, which is again one of my most, I guess, favourite places other than the Scarlet Forest, just from the aesthetics. It looks absolutely beautiful, especially with the old civilization structures and obviously the colours themselves. Now for this one, I'm doing the longsword. Apart from obviously being a hunting one main, I do absolutely love the longsword. It is a gorgeous weapon. It looks very, very flashy, very anime, and at the same time it's just so adaptable. You've got your counters, you've got your foresight slash, and basically you're able to evade, or you're able to basically just brute force through parries. So from that side, things like counter strike, adrenaline rush really work depending on what you prefer to use as your main way of countering monsters. Now with this one, I haven't been fighting Zuru a lot, because the first time I fought him, I found it quite difficult, similar to New Udra, again because I haven't fought any sort of octopi sort of like creatures in previous Monster Hunter games. As I said, Monster Hunter World is the one I've mainly played. So from that perspective, I still find this one a little bit difficult, and you'll see it's definitely not the peak longsword gameplay that you might see from a lot of people. Especially because I kind of got stuck in a corner at the beginning. It was a little bit hard to actually see what was going on, and just kept missing for some reason foresight slash. So let me know kind of what your favourite weapon is actually, because I know that longsword is one of the most popular, similar to greatsword, and I know that hunting horn unfortunately hasn't got too much love for it. Even though in terms of the speedrunners, it seems like I think QUA is one of the ones that does a lot of really good hunting horn play. Really actually showing that it's a much stronger weapon than it's been probably in a long time, especially in Wilds, where it's now actually being in the top 5 of fastest clears for some of the harder hunts. So from that perspective, what's your favourite weapon? Has this changed in Wilds, or has it always been the same weapon that you've liked throughout all of your Monster Hunt games that you played? And also, what do you think of the design of things like Zuru and also New Udra? For me, I think they're really cool monsters to see, especially because obviously octopus, you normally see them in the water or only very sluggishly moving across the land. So from that perspective, having both of these being relatively fast and agile creatures, I think is quite fascinating. And one of the things I do love about Monster Hunter Wilds, or Monster Hunter in general, is the ecology, and basically how, I guess, realistic to a certain degree certain aspects of monsters are. So it doesn't feel like complete fantasy where you have like a dragon that's flying in the sky shooting some sort of magic attack, but creatures that are at least based in reality. So from that perspective, this is probably one of my most interesting monsters that I like. But in terms of Wilds, I'd say probably one of my favourite ones, which I hate fighting, but I just love the design of it, is actually Serregis. Just the way they attack so quickly kind of reminds me of like a bird of prey, or kind of like a vulture, and obviously having that bleed build up very quickly, it's difficult. And especially now, I've been practicing a lot more with longsword to try and actually get the counters right, and be able to, especially the bleed attacks, and also the attacks where Serregis just comes in with the talents first. For a longsword, it ends up being a really fun matchup, especially once you kind of practiced it a little bit. So I'm going to be doing a video in the future which is going to be talking about the current state of Monster Hunter World, and looking at how this has changed from launch, because obviously all the technical difficulties, including myself who actually wasn't able to play it properly for the first couple of months, spending I think about maybe 40-50 hours before I kind of gave up due to the stuttering, the frame skips, etc. So for the rewards, as I said, there's, on this one particularly, there's a ton of sealed garlic. I don't know if you actually get other ingredients as well. So obviously for the first quest, Nerscylla, you had, or I had some monster chili and some wild seed oil. But let me know if you've been finding some additional ingredients on the second quest as well. Now, one thing to mention is obviously do make sure you're using your meal vouchers or the Pika meal vouchers for some of these hunts if you want to increase, let's say, farming. For me, I've got the lucky meal to give me some extra rewards from the monsters, because a lot of times I'll be hunting these monsters specifically for not the monster rewards, but obviously the additional rewards that they give. So getting the lucky voucher to give you some extra, let's say, monster rewards, or the maximum amount of rewards that you can get from the hunt, really, really useful. And again, it's not that difficult to obviously get these if you save us some Pick a Meal vouchers, or if you just check your map regularly between missions. So now we've got the, I guess for me personally, the most interesting quest of the set. So this is the Melodic Monarch. It's in the Wounded Hollow. It's against the Rathalos, just a plain Rathalos. So again, it's for someone who's at endgame, this is going to be very quick and easy. For this one, I'm actually using the Greatsword, something I want to get good at, but very much at the beginning learning stages. So again, let me know what your main weapon is, and if there's any that have kind of changed with Wilds compared to other ones. I know for me personally, the weapons I like using most, hunting horn obviously, when it comes to world. Hunting was my main, longsword definitely secondary, hammer I very much enjoyed, greatsword I did do play through, but I find it difficult. But again, that's probably because I just don't actually concentrate on the monsters and their attacks as much. And the other things I do actually really like as well was the insect blade, just because again it's quite flashy, it's got a ton of mobility. The idea of the whole concept that you can actually upgrade and customize as well is pretty awesome. And I'd say those are probably the main weapons I used. I did branch out into lance a little bit, but this is mainly because I thought it looked very cool, and there's specifically one lance, the one that's basically gold and black, that Fabius uses in the cutscene in Wilds, and this is, I think, just a really cool outfit. Using that with gold Rathian in Monster Hunter World, or now the ingot set, which is then obviously customized to match those colours, I think works really well from a fashion perspective. But again, I won't spend too much time on Rathalos. Again, it should go down pretty easy. It's again just obviously a flagship, one that you have to have, and especially with the Fender Collab, it makes a lot of sense because obviously the colours for the guitar itself. One thing to note is that once you do the quest, you automatically unlock all 3 versions of the gesture, so there's no need to hunt the Rathalos 3 times. The only main difference between the 3 gestures is actually the animation for the performance. So the first one being relatively low key, the second one having a little bit more, I guess, energy into it, and the third one being basically as if you're a massive rock man that's going crazy on stage with your guitar. So from that perspective, pick which one you like the most. I've gone for 3 just because if I'm going to be playing it, I do want it to be nice and flashy. One question as well I do actually have for you guys is, what do you think of the Wounded Hollow? The main reason I ask is because in World we obviously had the arena, the Monster Arena quest, which always felt a little bit unfair because you could use your cannons, you could use traps, the falling boulders from the top, so it kind of felt like you're a little bit more of a sadistic monster hunt, because you're basically not giving the monster much of a chance. There's not too much of a challenge to a degree. Obviously, when you fight Lunastra and Teostra, that's definitely not the case because they were a very difficult hunt, at least for me. So let me know what you actually think about having the Wounded Hollow here. I understand that Lagiacrus is going to be coming to Wounded Hollow, so that's going to be really interesting because I'm not a massive fan of the underwater section because it feels really clunky. But at the same time, I understand it was, I think, in Try, where you had the actual underwater fighting, which unfortunately I never experienced myself, but I thought sounds absolutely awesome. So I'll be wondering if they're going to be expanding upon the underwater section of Lagiacrus to make proper full underwater hunts. I somehow doubt it. I do like that it's in the game. Definitely think it's something you should experience at least once, but it's definitely not something I want to have to do regularly. So for that's probably the only reason I think the Wounded Hollow for me personally has much of a use. Other than that, I actually like fighting the monsters in their natural habitats much better because I think they're just beautiful biomes that they've created in the wild. But let me know your thoughts. What's your favourite place to actually fight monsters? And also why? Is it for a thematic or aesthetic purpose, or is it because you're finding it a lot easier to use the environmental traps, etc.? Or, for example, the Wounded Hollow because it's very no nonsense, just you and the monster going at it? One thing you'll also probably notice is that my fashion is pretty much the same for this one, and the next hunt. And this is mainly just the new one I've been focusing on. I've got my hunting one fashion, which specifically is for the Glass Royal. For everything else, it's kind of this white pink, just because I love the cyberpunk jacket, and unfortunately you can't change the pink on it. If one day Capcom decides to let us add a third customizable colour to different outfits, I think that'll be absolutely amazing, especially being able to change that pink to something else, let's say for example blue, to make a bit more of a white blue outfit work, especially for the Shia weapons. I think would be awesome. But let me know your thoughts. Are you using specifically armor pieces where you can customize all of the colors, or are you similar to me using armor pieces where there are things you can't customize and then kind of working around it to make the outfit work? Or are you one of those people that say, screw it, I don't care about the fashion? For me personally, fashion hunting has always been kind of the true end game. But let me know your thoughts. So I've obviously done this quest before. This is, I think, the second or third time that I'm doing it just for the showcase. But normally what would happen is as soon as you finish the quest, you go to the reward screen. That's when you get all 3 of the gestures unlocked straight away. So again, no need to do this multiple times. And here again you can obviously hear the actual play itself. It sounds great. Obviously the way it sounds in terms of the audios is the same for each three of the gestures, but this is obviously the first one, which is again the one which has the most minimalistic animation, so very chilly, just jamming out. And I think you'll probably have the same experience where anytime that you start playing, you'll have other people potentially joining in if there's quite a few people online at the time. So this is the second one. Again, it's a bit more, there's a bit more movement into it, but again, nothing too crazy. And then lastly, the one that I've decided to actually kind of stick with for mine, just because it is the full rock feel of someone who's proper jamming out on the guitar. So this is the one I like the most. But let me know which one you're using, which one you like the most, and or maybe also which one you've been seeing a lot of other people using. And lastly, we've got the Hungry for Ore against Two Tempered Gravius. Now, I'm not going to show the full fight because honestly, it takes long. I can't remember exactly how long it took me. I think maybe 20 minutes, something like that. I'm not very well versed in Gravius at all because again, once on the was the first time I fought one. And at the same time, I don't know what it is with the hard parts of the monster, but I never seem to find the proper weak points, and I haven't really been actually super focused on looking for where they are on the monster. But it seems like you basically have to crack the outer shell a bit before you actually then start getting your crits and your weak point hits. So again, we'll have an abridged version of just the gameplay, some of the highlights, so we'll see at the end when we look at the rewards. One thing to note again is, so this is basically where you get mining pick relics, I think they're called. You need 3 of those per weapon, so 3 for the longsword, 3 for the sword and shield. I believe it's 2 or 1 for the first to actually craft the weapon, and then the other 1 or 2 to actually then finally complete it and put it to its final form. So especially if you like the aesthetic of it, get that second one so that you can have your layered weapon. And again, I think you're guaranteed to get at least 1 per hunt. So I think on the first hunt I was really lucky and got 2 or 3, and then in the second hunt I just got the single one. So from that perspective, do bear in mind you may have to do this hunt up to 6 times if you're super unlucky. So here we are finally at the end of the quest. So it wasn't as bad as I thought. It was 15, but then again I did have I think it was dual blaze user that came in on this one. I think there will be, until people have fully farmed out all of the weapons that they want from this, the 2 main ones, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are still going to be joining in fights because it is a little bit more, I wouldn't say necessarily a difficult one, specifically it is a definitely a bit of a longer one. One thing to mention is probably do actually separate the 2 mobs at the beginning, but here again you can see what they actually look like. I think they're really cool designs, especially like that blue shield for the sword and shield. I think looks absolutely awesome. Thank you very much for your time, and obviously if you like this sort of content, please like, subscribe, share, and do all that good stuff. I'm going to be doing a lot more Monster Hunter Wilds content. Like I said, the next couple of videos are going to be going over what exactly has changed since launch, because there's a lot of people that still aren't able to enjoy this incredible game, and at the same time I'm going to do a bit more on the fashion sets, doing some more hunts while I also get better with some of the weapons. And then at some point, maybe when I get to some decent subscriber numbers, I'll start streaming as well, because I do want to do a couple of new playthroughs specifically to try different weapons and how they kind of progress from start to finish. So with that, that's it for today. Love you all and hope you have a great rest of the day, and see you.